Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over what is currently the most controversial gameplay feature in all of Fortnite, glider redeploy. The ability to redeploy your glider was added to Fortnite in patch 6.2 on October 24th with what was at the time supposed to be a 1 week long trial period. And then after that week was up, glider redeploy was announced as a permanent change on October 31st. Now this change was obviously a major one. Glider redeploy is a totally game-changing and meta-defining feature in Fortnite. I think pretty much everyone that's used it can agree with that. The interesting thing is that usually in Fortnite, major meta-defining changes are seen as either obviously good for the game or obviously bad for the game. Some recent examples of obviously bad changes include things like nerfs to structure health, the introduction of the pre-patch compact SMG, and most recently, as I'm sure most of us remember, the change which attempted to add explosive penetration damage to Fortnite. And on the positive side of things, you have changes like the removal of the drum gun, nerf of the double barrel shotgun, and additions to console like building sensitivity and custom bindings. With all of those changes on both the positive and negative side, it was clear almost instantly whether the change would be good or bad for Fortnite as a whole going forward. With glider redeploy though, here we are 2 to 3 weeks later, and the community is seemingly still split right down the middle on whether this change was good or bad for Fortnite. A common misconception I see a lot online when it comes to redeploy is something along the lines of, well, the only people that like it are public match players, all the pros hate it, so obviously it's a change designed for bad players. That simply isn't the case at all. And to kind of show you guys how truly split the community is on this issue, I'll throw a couple tweets on the screen right now from some Fortnite players that I'm sure a lot of you guys will know that showcase both the positive and negative sides of the debate. So the first example I have here is from Myth, and he tweeted, "So after we've had a bit more time for glider redeploy, how do you feel about it then? I think they're one of the better additions to the game. When people want to disengage, they trade mobility for vulnerability, and it's better than having the person waste mats on turtling." So that kind of got a bit of a debate going in the community, and Animal, who's another pretty well-known pro player, responded to Myth's initial tweet saying, "I like it, really rewards high ground and aggressive play. Only thing I don't like about it is you can stack it with shockwaves, rifts, grapplers, runes, bouncers, etc., and it makes it extremely hard to catch your opponent even if they were pinned." Then Kenneth, who plays for 100 Thieves, responded to the entire thread by saying, "Regardless of what everyone thinks, definitely encourages engaging more and also makes pubs a billion times funner. People that say you're no longer being punished for getting third party knocked out need to re-listen to themselves. Why should you get punished from a dude that far out?" And then the final tweet from the positive side of this debate comes from Poach, and he makes his opinion known very simply by saying, "I like it. There, I said it." So that right there is 4 really experienced and successful pro-level Fortnite players that are clearly in favor of the glider redeploy feature staying in Fortnite. So hopefully that puts to bed any kind of stupid notion that I've seen of people saying, "Oh, anyone that thinks glider redeploy should stay is dumb or a noob." But much like any debate in life, it wouldn't be fair to only show one side of the argument. So here are some more tweets from some more well-known Fortnite players that are clearly against glider redeploy staying in Fortnite. So Daquan kind of started the anti-redeploy side of the debate by tweeting, "This Fortnite glider stuff really gotta go," and then expanded on that by saying, "Waste 300 plus mats for them to fly away, then waste some more mats for them to fly away. You shoot at them while they're flying just to get shot at by a random, finally kill someone and they don't drop mats because they spent them all running. Fun experience, lol." A few days later, Nick at 30 made his opinion known by tweeting, "I feel like glider redeploy decreases strategy-based plays and encourages more reckless gunplay battles. Example, someone shoots you from a mountain. Thought, okay, time to go in a house, replace all walls to prepare, and then heal. Reality, get glided on and die in 1 second, LOL. And finally, I wanted to include this tweet from another pro player named Razaro, I believe that is. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But he has a very strong matter on the opinion. He first tweeted, "Wait, there's people who like glider redeploy?" And then in response to someone followed that up by saying, "Yeah, because it rewards dumb players with free rotation. Average player doesn't know how to rotate. I would like it too if my brain was slower than it is." So I found that pretty funny and just had to include it in this section of the video. So I showed you guys about 8 different tweets from a bunch of either pro or pro level players, and it really shows you just how split the community is on this super important issue. So I want to go over what I believe the positives and negatives of glider redeploy in Fortnite are to try to clear up this debate as much as possible. Starting with the positives, I would say the biggest positive is how much faster it makes the game feel. And I even have some empirical proof of that. You guys don't see my full gameplays because I cut out most of the boring parts, so you guys don't have to watch me run straight for like 2 to 3 minutes without seeing anyone. But before glider redeploy, I would say the average length of a full game file would be somewhere around 19 or 20 minutes. Since glider redeploy though, most of my full game files are now closer to 16 or 17 minutes. A non-RNG type of fast travel is something that in my opinion has always been needed in Fortnite. Things like launch pads and rift to goes are awesome, but since they're so rare, you can go entire full games without even seeing one. That's why I and so many other people loved additions like rifts and the Leaky Lake Tornado into Fortnite, because anybody could use it to get across the map whenever they wanted if they knew the location of it. Now that a lot of rifts have been removed and Leaky Lake is back to normal with no tornado, I kinda think that glider redeploy acts as a replacement for those things. Another positive, in my opinion at least, is that glider redeploy acts as kind of a buff to building as well. Outbuilding a player and then taking fall damage because they shoot out your structure is one of the most frustrating things in the entire game. Now, this was a lot worse back when explosives were super overpowered and you could shoot down a 1x1 with one rocket or one clinger grenade, but especially with the removal of bouncers, there was really no way to protect yourself from being shot down after they were removed from the game. But now with redeploy, you no longer have that constant fear of taking fall damage in the middle of a build fight. And the final positive of glider redeploy is that I believe it really rewards smart players in terms of engaging and especially disengaging from fights. I've touched on this before, so I won't go too in depth with it, but basically the increased mobility gives smart players more control over only putting themselves in smart fights. Now we move on to the negatives, and the number one negative of glider redeploy that a lot of people always mention whenever it's brought up is that it increases the amount of third partying in Fortnite. Third partying has always been a meta-defining strategy, at least for a while now, and the more mobility that gets added to the game, the more relevant and powerful third partying will become. Glider redeploy is basically the equivalent of a launch pad whenever you want it, so a ton of people use that ability to engage in fights that are already happening between two teams, and then they come in and basically clean up the scraps. And I mentioned in the positive section how glider redeploy actually acts as a buff to building, but a good point that a lot of people bring up is that it also ends up rewarding overbuilding, and that in my opinion is definitely a negative. It's good overall because it prevents practical build fights from being shot down by a third party, but at the same time it's bad because it allows players to just build to the sky even when it isn't necessary with no fear of being shot down. And the final negative is kind of the point that Raz brought up earlier when I showed his tweets. Redeploy does take a lot of the skill out of rotating, especially in endgame scenarios. Being able to rotate well is a really underrated skill, maybe not so much in middle game when it's mainly just running for 3 minutes straight, but when you're in a super small endgame circle with 3 to 4 other enemies and the storm's closing in on you, rotating and maintaining good positioning is definitely not that easy, and it's something that can really give you a leg up in endgame. But with glider redeploy, anytime you get trapped against the storm, you can literally just travel really fast by using your glider, and it takes a lot of the skill out of the entire process. So overall, my and video thoughts on glider redeploy. I do like a lot of aspects of it, but I do also acknowledge the negative side of things, that it does have its fair share of flaws. My solution, and what a lot of people have suggested as well, is to keep glider redeployment into the game, but to somehow nerf it a bit. Whether it be a nerf to the speed of a redeployed glider, a cooldown timer, or even making it so that you can't free fall when using a redeployed glider. Those are just some examples of proposed solutions I've seen on either Twitter, Twitch, or Reddit. I think a well-designed slight nerf to glider redeploy would make almost everybody happy and turn what's currently a very controversial feature into an almost unanimously liked feature. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, I'm sure you can guess what I'm about to ask. Be sure to leave me a comment down in the comment section below with your thoughts on glider redeploy. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you want it to stay? Do you want it to be nerfed? Let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.